Hi, I'm Jane and I've had my Albert electric cross-stitch frame and stand up and operational for about 1 week now. And so here's my early days review of this incredible product from two Hubbies. Now, as I said, I've only been stitching on this for about a week. So you're getting my first impressions of using this product. I did have one day where I spent almost the whole day on here stitching. So I'll give you a bit of a review of how that went, because normally that would result in quite a bit of pain. Before I start, if you haven't seen my unpacking video and you're not into unpacking videos, I just want to start off by saying that when this comes in a box, it's extremely heavy. It's 13.7 kilos for the frame and the stand, and there's some extra weight if you get Armbert like I did. This is Armbert. Armbert, the three altogether comes to 15.1 kilos, which is about 35 pounds in imperial measurements. If you have an injury, a back pain, any sort of issues where you can't lift, when it arrives, please make sure you get somebody else to pick it up for you and bring it in and set it on a table so that you can then put it together. Don't try and lift the box if you're carrying an injury. You could really make it worse. First thing I want to talk about is the assembly. Now, I did make a video of me trying to assemble this thing, but it was very embarrassing. You're not going to see that one. I found it a bit tricky, mainly because I think the instructions were written by people who don't speak English natively. And also I think the added problem of them being written by someone who's involved in engineering. And so you get this technical speak done in translated English, and it doesn't quite flow the way it should. I can tell you that the frame part went together really easily. The only thing is there are some inspection ports, like little holes in the frame. So you can see that there are these small, I'm calling them inspection ports on the frame. And they're there so that you can make sure that you have the frame fitted properly. If you cannot see any metal from the inserted pole from here, then you will not get a tight fit and a nice stable fit. So they're through the frame as well. There's a few of them on the frame and the stand, I should say. But that's critically important. I made the mistake of putting my bars in, shoving everything to the side, then putting this side of bars in, and then expecting this to tighten and hold. Well, it didn't do that, and the reason it didn't do that was because I had the internal bar shoved all the way over to this side, and that just doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. And this bit was all wobbly. So I was able to fix that by just loosening all the screws up and shifting the bar across a little bit so that I could actually see the silver metal in there. I think you can see it there. There you go. And then that worked a treat. So if you can't see the metal in those little holes, you will not be able to get this frame stable. But once you've done that, it's really quite stable and it's fixed very, very well together. The stand I had a lot more trouble with trying to understand the instructions. I sort of blathered about for about 20 minutes before I decided to use the instructions, the little picture here that tells you what number each piece is. And I laid it on the floor exactly like that. And then I turned the page and it said put part 2 into part 1 and part 3 into part 2. And from there I was off and running, and I had it together in about 5 minutes. So that went very well once I'd done that. So if you buy one of these, I highly recommend when you get to the stand lay the pieces on the floor and just start putting them together. The finish on this product I spoke about in my unpacking video. There are some pieces which have a gloss powder coating on them, and there are some pieces that have a matte powder coating on them. So I found the matte coating to be a bit fragile, and you can see here, just here, you can see that some of that coating has already come off. I think it would have been nicer to have been gloss all through. It does have a very industrial feel to it, very strong, a lot of heft, a lot of weight, very industrial feel, and because of that you will get a few dings and bangs from an industrial nature. If you can accept that, it's not going to win any Steve Jobs design awards that looks pretty because it's got lots of rounded white features. That's not what this is. It's a workhorse, and it's designed to be a workhorse. So just a really small quality issue. You can see that the crossbar between the two long legs has gone a bit crooked, and the leg on the left has a greater distance between the crossbar and the wall than the one on the right. It's not affecting the performance of the frame, but it's just a little small thing which I think is an easy fix for in the future, just to make sure that the quality control could be a little bit better. Stability-wise, at the moment I have this on carpet. It will end up moving to a room where there's a timber floor, so it'll be a lot more stable. It does move a little bit, like I'm really giving it a good whack now. It's not going to fall over. And it's rocking basically because of the carpet, not because of any other reason. The odd little push doesn't do much to it. So it's really quite stable. I've been very impressed with that. Once you've got everything tied in neatly, it's hard to move anything, which is how it should be. Yeah, so I'm not unhappy with it. I think a lot of things that go on carpet are a lot more unstable than this. So yeah, pretty happy. So here's the footrest that comes with the Albert stitching frame. This is a magnificent idea. I had no idea that I actually needed one of these, but it comes in real handy when you decide that you're getting a little sore by having your feet sitting in the one position all the time. I'm hoping that in the future they'll be able to create one of these that's adjustable, because it does come at a fixed height, and you can just see that it's not adjustable there. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to fix that and maybe make it on a flexible height in future. Things that Two Hubbies also uses as a selling point is this frame. You can actually move it closer towards you or further back by taking this here, and I'm just sliding it backwards and forwards like that, so I can get it in exactly the right position. And I just have to tighten it up fairly well there. Oh, there's this pieces coming off that I've put up on there. And oh, there you go. See, I've got my yarn holder parking station up there, just held on by a couple of little magnets. But yeah, that can move forward and backwards. So if you've got your stand set up in a corner or somewhere, but you need it closer to you, that's really easy to do. It can also rotate. There's another adjustment here. I might loosen up a bit. And I can rotate it from side to side. I'll get the arm bird out of the way. I can rotate it from side to side. And that's basically there because, just straighten everything back up. If you tend to hitch up on one side, like on your upper arm, if you tend to hitch up, and so you end up crooked, it's an OH&S problem, you'll end up getting pain. So you can actually tilt the frame so that you can still stitch with your shoulders even. Really excellent innovation from Two Hubbies. The original one didn't have that ability. This one does, because that post is round. So that's really great if you're stitching for a long time and get sore shoulders or chest. That can help ease that off a bit. Now, one of the things that I found is that this entire frame is magnetic. So anything that's magnetic I can put on here. As you see, I've got a couple of big needle minders here. I've got this little parking station here for if I'm parking. I've just got the backs of a couple of magnets on here. I did originally have my needle minders here, but this is where the motor is. And I'm not sure that it's a great idea to be putting magnets on top of motors. I think you could get some unexpected results. So I decided to take them off and mount them here. And actually it's a better spot. It's much easier for me to get at here. One of the problems I had as soon as I got this together, and I thought, all right, I'm ready to start stitching. I stitch with a magnifying light all the time. I just can't stitch without it. If I do, I'm squinting all the time and I end up in pain. I sore eyes, strained eyes. So I always use one of these. I can't use any of those magnifying glasses or magnifying things that sit here. It doesn't work. I need a magnifying glass, and I need it up right and close to my work because I'm magnifying my work. And just a tip on the light, this is not actually a craft light. I will turn it on. It's really bright. It's not actually a craft light, this one. This is a light that I got from a beauty supplies store, and it's used actually for people who do lash extensions. So it's really got a lot of magnification and light in it. It's absolutely brilliant. I do recommend trying to go to a beauty supplier to find your next magnifying light. Much cheaper on the whole than you can get it for if you use like an OT light. But one of the things is it came with a mobile stand, you know, one of those starfish things with casters underneath, and it just slots in there. This is my table mount for this particular light, and it's quite wide here to give this light lots of stability. I know that this fits on the crossbar on the accessories bar, but the weight of it all and this, I just wasn't comfortable putting it on there. The accessories bar comes with a round post that sits upright. So that round upright came with a screw in it. And once I tried to put my light in there, because I thought it was the natural place to put it, I couldn't actually put it in there because the stopper that at the top of the rod of the pipe had a fitting for a screw inside of it, a screw housing. So you could screw the little screw thing on there. Just screw one of these. Sorry, bear with me, I should have had this ready. Taking time. So it had a little fitting in there that allowed this screw to go in there. And I wanted to put this light in there, but with this screw fitting inside of it, the screw housing, I couldn't actually fit the lamp in there. So I went to my hubby, who's also an engineer, and I said, can you fix this for me? And he took the stopper out of the rod and he removed the screw housing from the stopper. And we put that back in and we were able to slot that light in really brilliantly. And the reason that I'm not showing you that is because it went in so firmly and so tightly. I don't want to wreck it. I don't want to ruin it. It's there where it's meant to be. So everything was all fantastic. And then I pulled this down because you can see that it's using almost like one of those pulleys. It's not like a flexible thing. And I couldn't get it down low enough. At the moment you can see it's here, but I could only get it to about here and I couldn't get to the work. So I thought, oh, now what do I do? Now what do I do? And my daughter, who was in the room watching this, had the bright idea of switching. So you put the frame attachment on the stalk first, and then you have the accessories attachment on the stalk above it. And she had the bright idea to switch them. So that would bring the light lower. And that's what we did. And now I can get this here. But what that means is that I can't use the accessories bar in the way it's intended other than for my iPad stand. And that works a real treat here. That's a, if you're wondering what I've used there, that works very well. It's a hover bar. It's a hover bar. I bought that. This stand part comes off and it clips beautifully onto the accessories bar, and I have the ability to adjust that any which way I like. I do recommend that. It's very expensive. It's about $140 from JB Hi-Fi, but well worth it for just the ease of use and having my iPad exactly where it needs to be. So here you can see exactly how we've mounted the base of the light into the rod. And you can see that it's a nice circular rod here. So it looks like it's absolutely designed to fit this light in it. And above that is where I've got the frame actually in there. So normally these would be around this way and you would have your light mounted on one of these bars. But I wanted it in here because to me that seemed like it was the right place to do it. When I was trying to work out how to mount it, I looked at the Two Hubbies website and they had their light using the table stand attachment mounted onto this bar here. But this bar here was square, not round on the website. Now I can't mount that on a round bar. Before they did the frame tilt attachment ability for before they were able to do the tilting of the rotation of the frame, this was a square piece. I didn't have the option to get a square piece, and I'll just show you here. See, I've got a round piece in here, and I would like to be able to change that from a round to a square so that I had the option to mount the light up upon this square bit. But where this works fine, except where I have the frame mounted, it means that I can't actually turn the light any further to the right than this. I can go all the way around that way and not have a conflict there, but this is where it stops. And this is why I'm thinking that in the future, I might have to just buckle down and put it onto the accessories bar here. I'd probably have to do that if I was working on a bigger piece, a longer piece, because I can't actually maneuver this light any further this way because it's hitting the actual frame attachment on the stalk. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk to you about is the switches and the USB here. There are actually two USB attachments. One's a USB-C and one's a normal USB. This one down here, the USB-C, that's what actually drives this baby. The other USB is just a convenience port so you can plug it in. I don't believe you can actually use it. You may or may not be able to use it to charge a device, but you can certainly use a device in that port, but it doesn't drive it. If you had a USB to USB, the motor wouldn't be turned on. It's the USB-C here that makes it work. One of the issues that I had was one of the first times I used it, I stood up and I got myself caught up in the cable and I tripped over myself and the cable, and I tore the cable out of here. And I didn't just tear the cable out, I absolutely destroyed the USB-C fitting. This is what it looks like now. I think you can see that. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it's pretty hairy. I destroyed it. And I had to hunt high and low to find a replacement in this house. My husband has 1,001 cables, and I'm not kidding. And I had trouble finding the exact one that I wanted, but I could only get a short one. So what I've done is I have some of these brilliant little fittings here. They stretch. They come with a 3M adhesive coating on it, and they do stretch. I think they're used in cufflinks. And I've attached them around in various positions on the frame, and I thread the cables through it, so I'm using it as cable management. This is how I've done my cable management. You can see I've put those little stretchy things in a couple of key positions. And I'm just, I'll have another one going down, but I need to get a longer cord to replace the one I tore to pieces. It would be great if Two Hubbies could include this in future iterations of Albert and Stand. Now, with the frame operation, you have two switches here. They're quite industrial looking. I was wondering why they didn't actually use something that was more like a light switch, a bit more modern. And that's because they actually flip back. They don't actually stay on or off. They actually have a central position, and they stay in that central position unless you're pushing it. See, it flicks back up. Let's see if I can get a better view of that. See that? Now, this one operates the top set of bars here, and this switch operates the bottom set of bars here. Now, it takes a little bit of getting used to because I use windows in my job, and when I use the scroll bar to go down, my work goes down. If you push this one down, it's going to make the bottom one turn that way, which will undo it, right? If I lift it up, it will do it up tighter. Now, this one operates the top bar. So if I lift that up, it'll unroll it. And if I push it down, it will roll it up. And the operation of those two switches, sometimes if I want to loosen it, I'm pushing that one down, this one up, so I can make it unroll. If I want to do it tighter, I'll push them together. And there we go. So it does work really well. What I found is on the instructions video, they say lift it up and then give this a quarter turn with the switch lifted up, and that makes it much tighter, and that really does. One of the things that I did notice pretty quickly is this is really nice and tight over here, and this is a bit on the loose side. And the reason for that is because I haven't actually mounted this fabric properly on my scroll bars, and it's a little bit looser on this side than it is on that side. So how you mount your fabric on your Omnic bars will make a difference as to how tight this will become. Now, I will say I am a drummer's daughter, and drum tight to me means something completely different than what drum tight means to a stitcher. And I just want to say, if you are related to a drummer or you're a drummer, it's not drum tight. You just want it firm with a little bit of give in it. Not much, just a little bit of give. Otherwise, drum tight, you'll be stretching your fabric into all sorts of horrible shapes. But yeah, it's a bit tricky to get used to. This is the down moves that way, up moves it that way, and it's the same for both bars. If you're doing both the same direction, you're going to move it up there. If you move them both down with one finger, you can do that. Whoop. I have a little clean piece here which keeps everything nice and clean. So there you go. So that's how those switches work. It does take a little getting used to. You have to think very carefully when you're operating them. One of the game-changing things about this frame is Armbert. Now, I hummed and hawed about buying Armbert. When you look at the demonstration video on the Two Hubbies website of how they use Armbert, the lady uses it as an armrest, forearm rest, and she uses it as her underarm when she's stitching, and it allows her to do that. Now, I have a shoulder injury. My left shoulder is ruined, at the moment. And but I use my left as my upper arm. And so I actually wrote to two hubbies before I bought this, and I said, will Armbert help me? Because I can see you use it as the forearm rest, but I'm wondering if I can use it as the upper arm rest. And they said, well, that's not how it's designed to be used. But they were very good. They said, well, how do I see the upper arm rest working? How did I... And I was like, oh, I've got no idea. But I had a thought that maybe, just maybe, I could use Armbert as an elbow and lower upper arm rest. I don't know, upper arm. And if I could use that, and then I could stitch this way. And as it turned out, I thought, do I, don't I? It was a very expensive addition to this system. And I thought, you know, I've got this shoulder injury. If I don't have something to support this arm, I'm not going to be able to stitch for very long. So I took the punt. I had a bit of a windfall financially, and I thought, yeah, I'll use a little bit of that to buy Armbert, and hopefully it works. And sure enough, it's been absolutely brilliant. I use this as an armrest. As you can see, I've got my elbow sitting in there quite nicely, and it works an absolute treat for me. I find if I didn't have that under this circumstance where I had nowhere to rest, I'd be like this stitching, because I'm trying to keep my arms and everything stable. So I'm stitching like this when I don't have an arm support. And then I'm getting sore shoulders, sore neck, crunching in the chest. But now with Armbert, it's an absolute game changer. Phenomenal piece of equipment. I'm so glad I bought it. It is so easy to just stitch and rest my arm here, and I'm not hunching, and I'm not bunching, and I'm not straining at all. I can relax here. And I couldn't believe it. 2 days ago, I actually sat here. I must have stitched for 8 hours during the day. You know, I had a couple of breaks. I did have a couple of breaks, but I must have stitched for at least 8 hours, and no pain, except for my butt, because I don't have a comfortable chair. I had no chest pain, no shoulder pain, no nothing. I could have stitched for longer, and I thought, no, I better rest now. So the only improvements, if two hubbies are watching this, it would be really nice if you could put some foam lining here, but you know, like mouse pad material. If you could just line this with some mouse pad material, because sometimes if I'm at the front part of my elbow at all, it can get a bit, so I'm making this shake, and it doesn't really normally shake that like that. It would be really nice if you could put a little bit of that mouse pad material in here as a bit of padding. And because I can't lift this up any further, because it's going to, that's about as close as I can get it without it actually hitting the frame, it would be a really good idea if you could put some kind of spring attachment in here so that it could go up and down a little bit, so I could actually have it lifting a little higher to give me, because I find sometimes it's just a fraction low. If I could just be a little bit, like maybe an inch higher, it would be awesome. But once I got Armbert on here and I started working with this, I realized that this is where the power of this frame is. To have the stalk at the back and be able to put all these attachments on the frame, on the stalk, is where the power of this baby lies. And I can't wait to see what two hubbies do here. I've come up with a whole heap of ideas that we can add to this. I like Traybert, so you can have a tray that comes out that's got supplies on it. I thought of Flosstube, where you could have an arm that comes out that's got all the floss supplies here, really handy with a project that you're working on. I've got Chartbert, which is a little thing which could come up and hold your chart stable with maybe a magnetic piece on it so that you could work out where you are. I've got Notionsbert, where you can put your scissors and tweezers and quick unpicks and goodness knows what else. There's needle threaders. I've come up with Parkbert, where you could put your park threads and you could move that around to wherever you want. The possibilities are mind-blowing. It is amazing. I can't wait to see what they do here. I can see in the future, with all the accessories that this little baby's going to have, that they'll be able to, they'll have to have not one stalk, but two. They're going to have to put it on two, and all these accessories are going to sit on these two trees, and it's going to be amazing, amazing. I want to be a part of that. I hope Two Hubbies keeps me in the loop, because I can't wait to try all these wonderful things that you can add to this system. So that's it from me. Thank you so much. I've got a link in below to the unboxing video if you want to see in there. See that? That's got lots of interesting hints and tips, particularly if you're an Australian resident and you want to buy one of these. You must watch my unpacking video. There's some critically important financial information in there that you need to know before you buy one of these. If you're a foreigner, you might have some of the same issues that I had, because this product comes from Norway. But definitely if you're an Australian and you're wanting to buy this product, you must watch my unpacking video. Thanks very much. Let me know what you think. Let me know if my video helps you choose to buy one. I think that as I get more familiar with it, I might put another review on and give you some more hints and tips about how to make this baby work better for you. And again, if they come out with any more accessories and I manage to snag one, and I'll let you know how that goes too. Thanks very much, and happy stitching.